Okay, we are live. Good day, everybody. Welcome to EarlyBirds Weekly Explorer webinar. My name is Chris Poria. This webinar series is run by EarlyBirds team to promote disruptive leaders, especially innovators, mostly focused on startups and scale-ups who have a minimum viable product, or of course a mature product. Today we have a scale-up from Silicon Valley called Edulastic with us. Edulastic is user-friendly online assessment system with more than 50 technology-enhanced questions types to engage students, especially during remote learning. Teachers and administrators can choose from item banks with 80,000 standard-aligned questions, create their own questions, or mix and match. Edulastic instantly reports on student understanding and progress, giving teachers and administrators powerful data to spot problem areas and adjust instructions to fix them. Edulastic has a free teacher version as well as a premium version for teachers, schools, and district. In Australian context, state departments. Since launching in 2014, Edulastic has been used by 800,000 teachers and 11 million students, mostly in US, with some around the world as well. We have today Leslie Tyler joined Edulastic at the product launch to lead sales and marketing. Prior to Edulastic, Leslie led marketing for several high-growth tech companies from startup through the IPO. Please share your questions through the chat box in the meantime, and I'm going to hand over to Leslie. Thank you, Leslie.
All right. Great, Chris. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, great. Let me start my screen share here, and we will. Okay, I'm excited to be here today to chat with everyone about Edulastic and what we're doing. As Chris mentioned, I'm Leslie Tyler. I head up sales and marketing for Edulastic. Edulastic is a fast-growing educational technology or ed tech company, and like other companies in our space, we want to help students learn. So our mission is to help teachers teach and help students learn. There are, we're obviously not the only ones. Educational technology companies come at this helping students learn challenge in a lot of different ways. As you can see, there are 1,500 or so products. This is from EdSurge EdTech Index, which is they have this great EdTech Index of all these products. But there's some people take the tact of eliminating the teacher. So we'll have remote learning and have experts and self-guided study, or self-guided practice or tutoring. Our approach is to provide a tool for teachers to empower teachers and improve their skills and have them be able to benefit from the experience and knowledge of other great teachers. There's also a whole ecosystem of just technology and coordinating different learning materials and different technology products in schools. So EdTech is quite a large and growing space. And of course, during this distance learning time, the whole industry has a bit of a tailwind because schools that were previously on the bubble and not using technology in the classroom now have to be because there's so much remote learning happening. So let me tell you a little bit about what Edulastic does. So when people think about teachers and what do teachers do, they think about this sage on the stage. They think about there's the teacher that's lecturing and the students are taking notes and they're sitting in desks and just absorbing information, which is not really the case anymore. Now the job of teachers, they follow more of a process like this. they start with learning objectives. And so here in the States, we have different state learning standards. Some people have Common Core learning standards, but you start with the learning standards, which is a set of skills that students need to know. So the students, for example, need to be able to add up numbers, single digit numbers. They need to be able to do long division, things like that. So the teacher needs to start with the learning objective and understand what the learning objective is and what mastery looks like. So then the teacher has some activity. So the teacher might explain and lecture, but there might be some practice, there might be some discussion, there's some activity, there's some teaching activity that happens. Then the teacher needs to assess, what do the students know? What do they still need to know? How close are they getting to mastering this standard? And then based on the results of that data, then they reteach. And so technology allows teachers to really use this data, to collect data easily and use the data to figure out which students are understanding which concepts and which students are not. And then again, cycling back and reteaching again. And so the holy grail of this kind of a cycle is to get it down to one student. And that's, sometimes called personalized learning, a term that had a lot of promise several years ago, and I think has not come to fruition yet. That the teacher and the student themselves are able to really pinpoint what they're not understanding and fill those gaps. So this is what Edulastic does. We help teachers gather this data and help them use the data to guide their instruction. So it's an online assessment tool. We focus on K-12 students. Some of our, as Chris was saying at the beginning, some of our reasons that people like us is that the product is easy to use. We have a lot of different types of assessments. You can use Edulastic for a classroom quiz, final exam, a district benchmark, to compare across a whole school, a lot of different types of assessments. And it gives instant data, real-time data. So all the questions are auto-scored except for essays. But that gives the teacher instant data. And so we have some schools, for example, where the teacher will give a quiz at the beginning of 3, 4 questions at the beginning of class, and then group the students for an activity based on the results of those quizzes, putting the people who maybe understand and don't understand something together in the same group so that the students can help each other. Edulastic also integrates. We have an open approach. We integrate with a lot of different technology, from student information systems to learning management systems, to try to make it easy. And then obviously assessment is key for distance learning. It's a few things about us that Chris also mentioned that make us a little bit different. We have a lot of what are called technology enhanced question types. So it's way beyond multiple choice. We have 51 question types. And so here's some pictures of what they look like. So there's highlighting and dragging, and there's drag and drop. Students can actually, we have graphing. They can do math equations, number lines, fractions. You can do part A, part B. We also have we also have the ability for multimedia. So any question can have video, audio, images, and students can also upload video or audio as answers or supporting documents. So it's pretty flexible that way. And then the main thing is, the data that the teachers get. So as I mentioned, the goal of, the reason that teachers give assessments is so that they can have data. They don't give tests just to have tests. So we have a live class board where the teacher can watch the students as they're progressing in real time. That's very important in the distance learning environment. And then they can do deep dives and compare by different subgroups, looking at, maybe some English language learner groups against non-English language learner groups, measure growth over time. And then one of the really critical things is tracking standards mastery. So many schools here in the US are going toward standards-based grading so that the evaluation of the students is based on how well they are mastering those learning standards that we talked about earlier. So you need to have a lot of data to show how the student is progressing toward the standards mastery and when they have done it. One of the things that Chris had asked for was case studies. So this is one of our, I think the Paragould story. Paragold's a rural community in Arkansas with a lot of socioeconomically disadvantaged students. And they, I think that their success story is really one of that cycle that I showed about focusing on, so what they did was, they focused on, well, starting out, as you can see in 2016, so the blue bar is the state average on the number of students, percentage of students that were proficient in the whole state of Arkansas. So it was like 42% in math. This is 7th grade math. And Paragould was only at 30%. So they were way below the state average. In 2017 was when they started using Edulastic. And they, as you can see, kind of went from below the state average to above the state average, and had something like an 18-point gain. I mean, just a tremendous improvement in their math proficiency in 7th grade. And in what they did was they embraced that cycle. They focused on the high priority standards, the high priority skills that the students needed to have. And they assessed the students. Then the students that were weak in certain standards, they had a dedicated period for reteach and practice of that material. Then they would assess again. So they did this every week to make sure that all of the students that had learning gaps got those gaps filled. And it really, it really paid off in their proficiency. Now they only have 65% proficiency, so they still have some more to go, but they're on a really good track. This is a little bit about Edulastic. So we've had a lot of growth. The keys to our growth. So of course, as I mentioned, this year there's a lot of tailwind this year as well. But this little graph is our cumulative number of teacher users, and it only goes up to last year, so it's even higher now. But the keys to our rapid growth have been making the product teacher friendly and easy to use. We have several competitors that are robust and complex, and generally teachers don't like it. And if teachers don't like it, then they won't use it. And the more in assessment, the more that a product gets used, the more valuable it is, the more data you collect, and so the more valuable it is. And so we have a freemium model. So we have free product for teachers. Again, more teachers use it, the more valuable it is for administrators and school leaders. And so that's been also a key for our growth, as well as having an open technical architecture. So our teachers can log onto our site, create an account, sync their class with Google Classroom, find an assessment out of the library, and they're good to go. So it's, by rostering with Google Classroom or with LMSs, it allows, reduces friction quite a bit. And then finally, we have a lot of open source content, as well as some content that's been created by us. That is a great place for teachers to start, so they don't have to write all their own tests. Let's see. Oh, so just lastly, our target customers. So we are targeting K-12 schools. They have to have student devices that are internet connected. And schools that are focused on demonstrating student learning and growth, being data-driven and focusing on standards proficiency are the folks that would find Edulastic the most helpful. Right now, we do have some questions in Spanish, but the platform itself is in English. So we've, especially during distance learning, we've really expanded internationally, and but English speaking is going to get the most use out of it. So, questions?
That's great. Leslie, thank you very much for that. So we already have one question. How has the use of Edulastic and your business model changed with more K-12 learning moving online this year?
How did the model change?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things. More people were using digital products. So when you're not in class together, you're relying on video conferencing and and virtual classes. So, we have a lot of customers that use Zoom and a lot that use Google Meet. We have an integration with Google Meet. You can launch the Google Classroom inside Edulastic. That's one of the things that we did. Interestingly, one of the differences in terms of assessment has been the test security. So when you're sitting in the class with a student, it's a lot easier to make sure that the student's doing their own work versus when they're at home, when they have their big brother, they have a phone, so even the typical test security features that we have are less effective when students are at home. So it requires the teacher, you should use all those test security measures, but also requires the teacher to change their approach to doing testing and making it more low stakes.
Great. And everybody, please type your question in the chat box, or even you can request to speak if you have a specific question. So in the meantime, I was looking into one of your company's video, actually. I thought maybe I can play this here in the meantime. Give a little bit of kind of references. I'll just quickly run that through for people. Let's see what happens.
Technology has changed the K-12 classroom. Edulastic, a digital assessment platform, is one of those technologies that is taking student learning to the next level.
We are diving into data, specifically in math and ELA and science. I'm grateful that we have a tool like Edulastic to be able to look at that, not just at the end of the year, but every single day.
Honestly, the data that you get from it is transformative in the classroom. I'm able to use that information immediately to change my lesson plans, whether it be the next day. I can even change it during that actual class time.
Edulastic has helped students with standards mastery because you can assign specific standards to each individual student, differentiated as well.
When we got our test scores back at the end of the year, we're really excited about our growth that we had within our school district.
Edulastic has totally redone everything for us. It just has made it so easy.
Edulastic improves learning and instruction with its standards-based questions, automatic grading, and instant insights and reports. Educators can easily insert multimedia to make assessments more engaging. Educators have access to over 3,000 Edulastic certified assessments, 38,000 standards-tied questions, and over 30 question types. Edulastic integrates with a variety of platforms. Edulastic is free forever for teachers and affordable for schools and districts.
There are so many features inside Edulastic that make this just such a phenomenal tool.
Being able to share Edulastic with other educators is an amazing thing because they look at it and they say, this is exactly the tool I'm looking for.
I believe in Edulastic. I believe Edulastic is a tool that can be used to make a significant difference for kids across the state and really across the nation.
Sign up for your free Edulastic account today.
Great, and I know that this was little bit older because I know that you have shared some updated numbers.
Right.
But I thought, this was a good, kind of reference to showcase to some of our colleagues here.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, I got some more questions for you,
Okay.
Leslie. The question is, how broadly across schools, college, university, and vocational training is Edulastic used?
So Edulastic, can be used for any subject or any level. The governing factor is the content. So the assessment questions and the assessments that you have. Now, we have a built-in authoring platform, so people can create their own questions and actually share them with other folks in their school or with everybody in the world or with nobody. It's completely up to them. So our item bank and our assessments are K through 12, primarily U.S. and aligned to standards in the United States. However, we do have some, the advanced high school courses and the introductory college courses are very similar, material. So we do have some higher education users and instructors who use Edulastic and use our, more advanced high school questions and also write their own questions. We have a tremendous, one of our tremendous educators on our innovator team who is a science professor in college, teaches chemistry, and she's done these virtual labs on Edulastic. It's terrific, where the students take some things in their kitchen and they do some things and they record their results, and a digital lab book, which is, obviously what you have to do in these times when there's so much remote learning. So, so we do have, and then in terms of international, we have a number of customers in other countries that outside the U.S. who either have their own learning standards that we've imported or are not doing standards mastery checking. So that's really the only governing factor in terms of who can use Edulastic. Our focus, because of the content, has been the United States. So I'd say we probably have, maybe 85, 90% of our users are probably in the US.
Great. And then further to that question, coming back from Phil, so the product is completely flexible and adaptable to any learning environment.
Yes. I would say yes. Yes. I mean, any learning environment where the student has a device that is connected to the internet. Yeah. So there's some interesting challenges in places where they don't have reliable internet. But that's really the only requirement.
Okay, great. So there's another question coming. Is the product deployed anywhere outside the educational system, for example, into organizations that provide training to their staff?
Not today. So we have a number of, if you think about, we have K-12, and then we have a number of higher ed, and there's international, and there's L&D kind of organizations. That those are all places that you could use Edulastic, and we just haven't focused on it yet.
Okay, great. So guys, as I mentioned, please type your question in the chat box. There's still an opportunity to ask some questions. We still have some time, which is great. On
that last question, I can mention, so our parent company, we have a spin-off company actually that does do assessment for companies. It's called Glider, and it focuses on, the assessment technology is very similar, but the content is very different. But it focuses on assessing candidates for technical jobs.
Is that glider.ai or something?
Yeah, glider.ai. Yeah, and with Glider, we spun this company off this year, but the Glider, most of the time when programmers and technical folks go for jobs, they have to do assessments of their skills, and so that's what Glider does.
Excellent. I've just got a message from Phil, who is our vice president. He's saying that, Leslie, let's talk offline. I can see some opportunities in various sectors in Australia. So
great.
That's great, Phil, and I'm happy to connect you, Phil, with Leslie after.
We have a couple of private schools in Australia who came on as customers this year. They're small, but it's good to see.
Yeah, okay, that's great. So, which is good, right? Because I think my next question was around that. What's your plan to be in Australia and New Zealand, most probably, because that's a very similar market. You already mentioned that you got some customers already in Australia. Great. So, do you need anything else in terms of if you are looking expanding, for example, in Australia? Do you have to do something different as a company in terms of aligning your capabilities here?
I think that the technical capabilities will align anywhere. It's the assessment content that's the key. So what are the what are the use cases of the teachers there and the educators there, and what kind of learning standards do they need to measure against, and how is the content organized? So, I mean, everybody learns multiplication in elementary school, like all over the world, but where does it come and how is it organized is a key thing. So, I think that if we, there's a potential to partner with some other firms that have information about that or have their own content. So we do have some partnerships with, interestingly, one of them is in Australia, but some partnerships with consulting firms that have their own assessment content. So they consult with schools and districts. So they're doing turnaround or school improvement, and they have a set of assessments that they use in that practice. And so we have partnered with them to deliver the assessment component to their clients.
Okay, great. We got next question coming from Janaki, asking what is the cost of the product. So how does your pricing work?
Oh, okay. As I mentioned, we have a free product for teachers, which is completely free. You have unlimited students and unlimited assessments. We have a premium version for individual teachers that adds additional features like read aloud for students, like in-depth reports, like test security features. There's additional features that come with the teachers, and it's US $100 per year per teacher. And then our school and district version includes premium for all the teachers in the school, plus administrator access to school-wide data and reports, and that's $4 US per student per year. That's our kind of standard price.
Okay, that's great. Okay, now thank you very much. And guys, one more question if you have, please type your question in the chat box. If you still have that opportunity to ask a question. Leslie, thank you very much again for your time today. I'm grateful to you. And guys, you have a little bit more information on Edulastic on EarlyBirds Marketplace if you want to look into that. And if you have any further questions, please reach out to Jeff or myself. We're happy to connect you with Leslie. With that, Leslie, thank you very much again for your time.
Thanks.
And I appreciate your time, and we are looking forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.